Hi there guys, today we are going to be talking about this idea of association and disassociation again. We're going to be using it to do a very popular NLP technique called modelling. Now, what modelling is I guess it's pretty much like dress up or playing make-believe as a kid. If you've ever played dress up as a kid, if you put on your mum's shoes and mum's hat and scarf and marched around the house, or I used to carry my dad's pipe, pretend I was my dad, and anything like that, you don't like that as a kid, and you're already an expert at modelling. Now, I don't want to get too complicated with this. I want this to stay as much as it possibly can childlike, because a child playing dress up is 99 times out of 100 better and more effective than a therapist doing some NLP modelling with a client, no matter how good the therapist is. Because a child, they really engage in it. Their imagination is so wonderful and pure that it becomes real to them. So it's that innocence, that childlike curiosity, that sense of adventure that I want you to use when you're doing modelling, whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're doing it with somebody else. So we've already talked about the idea of first and third person being associated into something or disassociated away from it. We use that technique to start the modelling process. It's very easy. You decide what you want, and then you choose somebody who's already got that quality, and you kind of imagine them doing it. You watch them doing it from it being over there, you being over here. So you're not in the experience, you kind of watch it happening, and then you go into the experience the same way you would have gone into yourself to become first person, and then you relive it. So that's the steps, but I'm going to kind of talk about that in a little bit more detail so you can really get into this and really understand what's going on. So first up, deciding what you want to do. It can be anything, it really doesn't matter. This technique is really often used for increasing sports abilities. The first time this was ever used was to help people learn to ski, and before they started using this on skiing, they used to think that some people can and some people can't ski, and it's just something you're either born with or you're not, which is a bit silly. But when we started using modelling techniques and thinking, hey, this person's doing that, let's kind of copy what they're doing by imagining we're that person, then we developed the ability to learn to ski. And then we extrapolated this technique onto lots of other things too. So sports, it is brilliant for. Anything involving the body, muscular memory, all that kind of stuff is fantastic for that. You can also use it for things such as improving your confidence, your self-esteem, anything like this. Anything that you want to get better at. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you consider it something physical or psychological or even psychic. If you want to improve your ability to read people's minds, it can be anything at all. Whatever you want to get better at, you can use this skill to do it. So you've decided on what you want. You then got to choose someone who can do what you want. Now, here's the interesting thing. That person doesn't have to exist. It can be someone from the past who's died. It can be someone that you imagine in the future that don't exist yet. And a really useful one is to imagine a future version of yourself who can do the thing that you want to do. So you imagine that you step into that person. Or it can be someone completely imaginary. I've used this technique on people before, and the thing that they wanted to improve was confidence. And when I asked them to think of an example of someone who was confident, the person they came up with was Buzz Lightyear. And we did the modelling technique with them imagining they were Buzz Lightyear, and it worked incredibly well at improving their confidence. So it can be like a fictional character, a cartoon, that kind of stuff. It can be someone famous, someone not famous, one of your friends, anyone at all, from any moment in history, past, future, anyone imaginary, whatever you like. So you can imagine stepping into anybody or anything. So you can imagine stepping into an animal. You might step into one of your pets, which is an amazing thing to do. I've done this stepping into both my cats and to my dog, and the understanding you get off them is phenomenal. And also, after you've done this, they kind of treat you a little bit differently. So there's something going on here that isn't just about your own psychology. There's some kind of psychical link with what you step into that really does have an effect. So all that stuff is kind of, it's a little bit out there for what we're talking about during this lesson, but you can step into anything at all. So I don't want you to limit yourself into thinking, I've got to imagine someone alive today who can do what I want to do. So if you can't think of anybody that can do it, just make someone up. You have to bear in mind that whatever can be done, there is a person that did it first, And whatever it is you want to do, you might be that person that does it first. So it might just be a case of imagining it being done and then stepping into the person you're imagining doing it, which could be a different version of you. So that's step 2, choosing your person. The next step is to kind of just imagine that you're watching that person doing it. Now, if it's a real person doing a real thing that they can do, then it's a really good idea to actually really watch them do it. So try and get a DVD of them doing it and watch them over and over again. It might be, say if you wanted to be more psychic, the program Crossing Over with John Edward, you can watch that and just watch what he does and just observe it. Watch the person doing it. Now when you do this, to start off with, you're going to watch it as though it's kind of over there, like you're watching it on a TV screen, whether it's in your imagination or if you are really watching it on TV. It's just going to be off in front of you. And as you watch it, I want you to imagine that the frame around the box is kind of growing bigger and bigger until you're inside that environment. So watch the whole thing, and when you do this, move around the person as well, so you get to see what they're doing from all different sides. Now it doesn't matter if they're doing a kind of physical movement or a mental activity or whatever, imagine it from everywhere. If it's someone up on stage, imagine that you're in the wings, you're behind them, you're on the stage and next to them, have a good walk around, get nice and close, go into the audience, imagine you're the guy with the spotlight. So see it from all angles, really observe the person doing whatever it is you want them to do. Before we move on to the next step, it's worth saying that if the person's got one particular trait that you like, but another load of stuff that you don't like, when you do this process, you don't have to take any of the negative stuff. You can just take the positive qualities that you want from the person that you're modelling. So the next step is the process of stepping in. Excuse me. Similar idea to what we talked about with the idea of becoming associated with your own imagined experiences. You're going to step into the other person. So look at them from behind. Imagine that zipper down their back that we talked about before and open the person up. Actually, I've just missed a step. Before you do this, ask their permission. So before you step into them, just talk to them and ask their permission. Say, I really admire what you do. Can you help me to learn how to do this? And just imagine them saying, yeah, sure, I'd love to. It'd be my honour to help you do this. So then, look at them from behind, open a zipper that's on their back and kind of open them up. Climb inside and imagine your arms going down inside those arms as though your arms are going down into sleeves and your fingers into theirs like gloves. And you might want to actually, as you're doing this, as you're meditating and doing this, maybe you're sitting down with your eyes closed, you might actually want to wiggle your fingers and imagine them really locking into the other person. Step your legs into theirs, just as we did before, and then imagine your head going into theirs, almost like you're putting on a balaclava. So I always kind of think of this like an all-in-one boiler suit that I'm kind of stepping into. When you're inside, you want to see through their eyes. So whatever they're looking at, that's what you're looking at. If they talk, your mouth moves. It's kind of your voice comes out of their mouth comes out of yours. You become one. You completely lock in with this person. So whatever they do, whatever they feel, whatever they think, that also is your experience. Now once you're completely engaged into this and you kind of click and you lock in place, remember that Tupperware snap sound? It works for this too, kind of click yourself in. Once you're really, really locked in, get them to do whatever it is that you admire them doing, whatever you want to learn. Just get them to do that. Now it could be they're reading someone's mind, psychic powers. It could be a golf swing. It could be anything at all. It could be Usain Bolt running the 100 metres. Anything at all that you want to get better at. Just imagine that other person doing it. It doesn't matter what it is. Even you could do something like imagining you're in some superhero and they're flying, just for the wonderful joy and experience of actually experiencing that. I'm not saying you're going to come away from this and be able to fly, but it feels good to do that. It's a nice experience. So imagine whatever you like. It could be your favourite pop star, you're up on stage and you're singing to adoring crowds. You feel tremendously confident because they do. So whatever you like about them, whatever qualities, you do this. Now also it's worth saying that if you want to sing like someone you really admire, but that person obviously has a bit of trouble getting up in front of people, got a great voice, but they're a little bit stage fright, then you can kind of combine two people together. Get someone who's really charismatic and really confident, combine them with your singer that you admire, merge one person out of that to create a new person, step into that person and get the best of both. So you create what it is that you want in the person. It doesn't have to just be one person. Step into it. Get them to go through the experience, so you're fully locked in there, you're really experiencing it, and it's going to feel wonderful. When you're done, you've had enough, reverse the process, step out, zip them back up, and thank them. Give them a hug if you want to. Thank them for what they've done for you. And then just bring yourself back to normal consciousness. So obviously that's if you're doing it on yourself. If you're doing it with a client, then you're going to talk them through the experience. Now, if you're talking a client through this experience, remember, as always with hypnosis, engage all the senses. So you want to really lock themselves into this. They'll be able to smell, what they can hear, what they can taste, what they can see, what they can feel, the movements of the body. And when you're doing this and they're kind of lying on your couch or sitting down listening to you, you will notice muscle twitches. If it's a golf swing, you'll notice that their arms will twitch as they're doing it. Now, their body is learning the movement. We've got a muscular memory in our bodies, and when you go through this process of learning something this way, that muscular memory learns to do something, and it learns to do it properly. Now, there's a way of thinking about learning. I might have spoke about this before, I'm not sure if I did or not. If you imagine you've got a piece of wood, and you want to cut through it, and learning something really, really well is like cutting a thin line all the way through. Your sword goes into a thin line, you can't waver off that, and it goes through really efficiently. Learning something by trial and error, getting it wrong a few times, is like hacking at a piece of wood and having a big old groove, and your sword just keeps skipping out one way and the other way. It takes you a lot longer to get through, it's a lot more effort, and what you end up with isn't quite as nice finished product as when we go really cleanly through. Now, the way we learn is to do stuff over and over again and lay down these memory traces. We get things connect inside our minds, and we remember how to do things, and muscles learn how to do things. If you practice something over and over again, sometimes the memory you're laying down will be one that is a failure. You'll try and do something, you'll fail at doing it, but that gets laid down, which is widening that kind of groove in the wood. Other times you'll get it right. You'll do something successfully, and that will get laid down as a memory trace of something successful, and that's cutting straight through. When you imagine something, you only imagine it going well. So when you're doing it that way, every single one is contributing to this muscular memory and to this mental memory as well of an experience that's going the way you want it to. Now, if you imagine two people, one's about to get on stage for the very first time, they're really nervous, and another one's about to get on stage for the millionth time because they've been doing this their entire life, many shows every single day, and they just feel confident, blasé about it. You imagine the difference of energy there, simply because to one of them it's second nature and they've done it millions of times, to the other one it's something new. It's the same thing. If you imagine doing something over and over again, you get that point. You get to that point where I can do this, I've done it so many times. And because it's your imagination, you're not limited by time, you can imagine doing something millions of times. The problem is, most people already do this, but they imagine it going wrong over and over again, or they imagine, say if they're in front of the crowd are jeering at them and throwing rotten fruit and booing them off stage, and maybe they're getting heckled, that kind of stuff. So they're imagining that they're falling flat on their face, it's all going wrong, they've got sweaty palms, they're forgetting their words, and nobody likes what they do, and there's just silence afterwards, no standing ovation, a few boos. People worry about things, they get anxiety, and they imagine there's something happening over and over and over again. And they're laying down the muscular memory and the mental memory of doing the thing in that way. When they come to actually do it, there's more chance they will do it that way because they've got more experience mentally of doing it that way. It's all about experience inside the mind. The brain doesn't know whether or not you actually did it, or whether you imagined doing it. What it does know is how many times you did it wrong and how many times you did it properly, and from that it kind of works out whether or not this time is going to be successful. That's why imagining doing something well is a really good thing to do, and that's what you can do with modelling. So that's it for today. I'll see you next time. I think we've got maybe one more lesson to talk about the association and dissociation, so I'll see you for that one next time. Take care. Bye bye.